Okay, so in this video, let's see how we can install React Router 7. So let's go into their documentation and see there are few different ways where we can install React Router 7 because in our project we are using Cloudflare. So Cloudflare also has a command line tool to install React Router 7. So I usually install with Cloudflare because we are deploying our application into Cloudflare infrastructure. So it make more sense to install with the Cloudflare command. So it also come with the Cloudflare configuration for the DNS to provide a URL for our stage environment, and also Cloudflare toml configuration or JSON RC file comes along with the installation. So we don't really need to configure again. So let's see the both ways. On one, like using pure React Router 7 and also Cloudflare CLI. Let's see how we can install. Both is same. We can also install just with the React Router 7 command line tool, or I mean npm command line tool, and also with Cloudflare. Both are same. So let's see both approach. So So let's go to React Router 7 official documentation. When we go to React Router 7, uh, they have both documentation in the same website for React Router, the library, and also React Router 7 is a framework, is a full stack application. So we just need to choose. This is the documentation for React Router 7 under the framework. There are few things we need to understand, which is routing, navigation, pending UI, and things like that. So let's see how we can install a new project. So let's go to installation. So it's very simple and straightforward. So we can name it maybe like Voxtel project. So it's simply, I think npx create React Router 7 at latest. We'll install React Router 7. Initialize a new Git repository. For now, no, because I'm going to delay this project after this session. Install npm dependency, yeah. Meanwhile, let's see some of the React Router 7 features. One is routing, right? So routing is super easy with the React Router 7. I really appreciate how they structured or configure the, the routing, because when we normally React Router 7 remix ആണ്, but I feel like remixum React Router 7 തമ്മിലുള്ള difference, routing, they made it more simple in React Router 7 when compared with remix. So okay, the installation is completed. Let's get into the project and let's see how's the initial project. So we can see it's more like React project, not much difference. So it's using Vite for building and other type of configuration. So in the Vite, it by default coming Tailwind, so we don't really need to configure Tailwind. Then React router configuration they added into the Vite, so it handled that, the build configuration, and they also added the TypeScript. So we can see the TypeScript, it's usual. The path start from app, so everything inside app is our project. And readme and React router 7 config, we don't really need go into this file, I think. Then packages, and as usual, package lock, a Docker file is coming, ignore, git ignore, public, node module all as usual. And the command to start the project is usual. They have dev, start, type check, and build. So sudo npm run dev. And we will be able to see the project. So this is the route. You can see. So let's see how they configure the route. Let's see what's there inside the project. So they start with the route. Route is the single file where we configure all the route in our project. I'll get into this. And there is a root file. The root file, we don't really need to touch the root file. This is the file that render the application, the first file that render when the application is loaded into the browser. So here we do like global CSS import. They have we can import it as traditional way. Also there is a way that they provide. I really don't know why we have to import in this way, but I guess they handle the import in a optimized way maybe. So this is just style import. Then we have a layout component and an app component and an error boundary. We don't really need to touch much on these files. So error boundary is nothing but error. It's a global error boundary, which means like if anything happens in the application and if we don't handle that catch, then this is the error boundary that catch all the error. So that's what I understood about this. And we have the layout. This is the initial component that render. So it's pretty much HTML. We can add any header or stuff like that. Then there is a children, and there is an app. So they have outlet here. Okay, so this we don't really need to touch much, but sometimes we come and configure our app provider or layout here, the global layout. So other than that, we don't really need to touch this file. So this is the initial file that execute. Then we have routes, and we have welcome. Inside welcome folder, what they have is just a component that is actually rendering here. Then we have routes. These routes folder and there is a routes file. These both are important. So any route we want in our application should exist inside the routes folder, but when we create the file, React Router 7 will not directly create the route. We have to specifically mention the route on this file. I'll show you that. So let's remove this welcome component, we don't really need it, and we can see the the index route, which is come from React router dev route. There's an index. The index route is pointing to routes home.txt. Let's see that routes home.txt. So this is the index route. So let's mention like h1. This is index route. So if we come over here, okay, so I think it's because of something is importing, so which we deleted. What was that? Logo dark inside app.cs. Okay, let me fix that. What is that? Okay, I think I just need to. Okay, where is my terminal? I think I just need to restart, then it would be fine. Okay, it's fine. So this is the index route. So which is the so let's say if we want to create another route, let me show you how easy it is. So for that, let's say we want about us page. So the file should exist within the routes folder, like about us.tsx, and export const about us. Wow. For function about us. Yeah, so if we go into the about us will not, there is no file. So as I said, it will not create the route automatically. We have to go to the routes file, and we need to add a route. For that, we need to import a route, then we need route, and we need about us, and we just need to, so this going to be the URL, like the URL about us, and we need to point which file going to be the about us route. So it's it's in the routes about us.tsx. So you can see the about us page is rendered. So that easy it is to create the route, and it's very clean when compared with any other framework. I really like it. So now let's see how we can initialize a project with Cloudflare. It is also straightforward, just one command. So we can really go into Cloudflare React Router 7. So they mentioned that React Router 7, formerly known as Remix. So let's get So this is let's use npm create Cloudflare latest. So then we just specify the project name, and Cloudflare support many frameworks, so we have to specify which framework, which is React Router 7, and this one command will initialize React Router 7 project, also configure the deployment, CI/CD, and the DNS configuration for our website, all in just one command. Let's wait for that. Okay, meanwhile, let's go through the React Router 7. Okay, it asks me, do you want to use Git? I would say like, I can say no because I'm not gonna use this project after this session. So no. Do you want to deploy your application? I will say no. If I say yes, it simply deploy the application. Also, I can see the application in my Cloudflare dashboard, and it also create a URL for that project, DNS, everything. So simply I say no. You can try with the yes, and but you should have a Cloudflare account. It's free. Also, Cloudflare CLI tool should be installed. It's called Wrangler CLI tool from Cloudflare. So that's it. So let's go into the project. What was the name of the project? That was my React project. Let's see what how they structured the project. Okay, so as we can see, it is pure React Router 7 project, like similar structure. We have root, also an entry. This is Cloudflare configuration for uh, for server side rendering. Also, they have some configuration which we don't really need to touch. Then as usual, the welcome folder, then the route. So it's pretty much React Router 7, and they have something called a worker folder. We don't really need to touch this is what execute the fast this file. Something related to the Cloudflare. So the best part, when we use Cloudflare CLI to initialize the project, we don't need to configure all these things. So I'll come with the CLI tool, and everything else is same except there is a Wrangler JSON and RC. This is Cloudflare configuration. This configuration we use for setting up the environment variable for stage, product, production, dev environment. We'll be using this Wrangler JSON C file, and Cloudflare provide S3 like service for the file storage. It's known as, I think, not D1. D1 is for database. Okay, so they have many services. They have queue services. They have like storage services, database services, agents, workflow. So many services that provide by Cloudflare. All we can configure through this JSON C file for this specific project. This is very useful, so we'll get into that in some other video. Okay, so this is so far. So how to initialize the project. In next video, I think we can go deep into the route. It's not that difficult. There's only few things: route parameter, dynamic route, and stuff like that. Okay, thank you.